Hello class 10. In this video I will be teaching you your next chapter, and the name of the chapter is The Last Lesson. This is chapter number 28 from your book The Radiant Reader. So kindly take out your book and we'll start with this lesson. Before starting the lesson, I shall tell you a little bit that what is this lesson about. This lesson is about a teacher who comes to know that probably that day will be the last day for him to teach his own subject, that is French. And during that scenario, how the students deal such a situation, how the villagers, they deal with the situation. The story is all about that. Okay, how difficult it is for a teacher to say goodbye to his students. How difficult it is for a teacher to say goodbye to the school where he had served for so long years. This story is all about that. Now, before starting the story, I'll tell you a little bit about the history during which it was written. So, this story, it relates to the period after 1870 when France was taken over by Germany. And the Germans decided that French will not be taught anymore, okay, in France. Now, how difficult it is for the French people, to say goodbye to their own mother language. Okay, the story, the last lesson actually highlights that. So we'll directly get into the story. I started, means the narrator, for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participle, and I did not know the first word about them. So, children, all of you can relate to this because here the narrator is saying that he doesn't want to go to school because he knows, they know that, the narrator knows that his teacher is going to ask him on participle, and he doesn't know about it. Okay, so he's afraid going to school. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the time out of the doors. It was so warm, so bright, so he thought of running out of the house, bunking his school, and spending time in watching the nature. It was very beautiful scenery. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. So it was a beautiful scenario with soldiers drilling and the birds chirping at the edges of the woods. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried to school. It was, the scenario was much more tempting than the rules of participle, but the narrator couldn't help out. He had to go to school, so he hurried to go to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. You know what a bulletin board is? You have seen it in your school. So, in that bulletin board, near that bulletin board, there was a crowd which circled. And the narrator thought what it could be, because all over years, whatever bad news it had come from that bulletin board. So, he was assuming what it could be. What all informations had come. Let's see. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? So he thought what it could be. All the time he had got the news of lost battle, orders of the commanding officers from here, then what it could be right now. Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher, who was there with the apprentice reading the bulletin, called after me. So there was this, blacksmith who was also reading the notice from the bulletin board. He cried out. He spoke to the narrator. What did he say? Don't go so fast, boy. You will get to school in plenty of time. You don't have to run to go to school. Now you have plenty of time to go to school. Now why is this person saying so? Already the narrator is late. Then why he is saying that he has plenty of time? Quite confusing, right? So the narrator couldn't understand this. I thought he was making fun of me. and reached M. Hamill's little garden all out of breath. And he was hurrying to go to school, and out of breath he suddenly reached the garden. There was this garden and there was a school there. So he hurried to go there. Usually when the school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and the closing of the desks, the lessons repeated in the unison very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. So you can, children, all of you can relate with the the scenario here, because here the narrator is saying that when the school starts or when it ends, you hear a lot of bustle going on. After in the school, there are too many noises that is to be heard. What are the noises that is to be heard? Shouting of the people, lessons taught, rapping of the ruler by the teacher on the table. So too many noises. But that particular day it was very unique because it was so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course the day was everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. So he thought to go to his bench very slowly and very quietly without being noticed. But one thing that he has to say is that the entire scenario looked as if it was a Sunday morning. Why Sunday morning? Because in Sundays you don't get schools. So on Sundays the school remains quiet, right? So that is it all about. So that is the reason he is saying that it seemed as if it was the Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places. M. Hamill walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So this scenario is also very relatable for you, because most of the time I used to roam around in your classroom giving you certain works. So in the same way here also, the narrator could see through the window that his classmates were sitting in their regional places, and M. Hamill, he was walking down, moving around with a ruler under his arm. He opened the door, and the narrator did not want anybody to notice him. He wanted to go back to his seat. And he's asking the readers if the readers can well assume that how frightened he was. Okay, he has not learnt his lesson. Next, he was late for the school. But nothing happened. M. Hamill saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." So he said, but nothing happened. He was frightened, but nothing happened, because M. Hamill said, "Little Franz, please go to your seat. We were actually beginning without you. It's very good that you have come." So this attitude from his teacher was, it was something very unique. Okay, he did not expect this kind of attitude from his teacher. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frill shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except in inspections and prize days. So when he was a little bit out of his fright, he realized that his teacher was wearing a dress which he generally used to wear during any occasion. This situation also you can really relate, because here in your school also, when your teacher wears something different, okay, maybe a sari, you could understand that maybe she is not maybe there is something special occasion, okay, happening in the school. So same thing for the teacher here also. He used to wear this particular dress either for any inspection or for prize distribution prize distribution day. What is inspection? When different authorities used to come to the school to see if everything is going on properly in the school or not. So during those days he used to wear such. But that day was neither the inspection day, neither it was the prize distribution day. Then why did the teacher wear such a dress? That was the confusion that was running on the minds on the mind of the narrator. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. But the most strangest thing was that on that particular day, the back benches, the villagers were sitting. Okay, this was the first time that they have come to attend the French lesson. They were sitting in the back bench, okay, which most of the time used to remain empty. Old Horser with his three-corned hair. So there was a person, he was the Horser, that is the name. So with his hat he was sitting. The former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others beside, and many more. Everybody looked sad. Everybody was unhappy. Horser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. So had brought an old primer. Primer here is a book. If you find out the meaning of the primer, you can sometimes find that it is old metal also. The meaning of primer can be old metal that has been used many a times. But here in this particular story or in this particular paragraph, it means an old book that he had brought, and he kept it on his knees with the pages turned on and his spectacles lying across the pages. So students, in this video, I'll just stop it over here. This is the first part of the chapter, the last lesson. I shall continue with the next part in my next video. Thank you.